Hey guys, Vazzy back here, and we have another NHL 25 news update video, as EA earlier this morning did drop the soundtrack, but that's not why we're here. They ended up posting a Grudge Match deep dive blog on their website. So there's a little bit of new information here. I was reading through it quickly, and a lot of it we already know, but there's some new info, so let's go in and see what this new Grudge Match system is going to consist of. So this is coming from Mike Engelhardt and Dave Pritchard, obviously part of the new development team. Basically their goal with the Grudge Match was to just not make everything another game and to make these rivalries actually mean something, whether it be in franchise mode, HUT, or EASHL. So there is another look at the Grudge Match intro screen, and here's the part I think we want to get to, as this is the part relating to franchise mode, season mode, and be a pro mode. So let's get into this here today. Within the offline modes, each NHL team will have a list of locked-in rivalries that feed into the Grudge Match system throughout the season, from the Battle of Alberta to the Battle of the Hudson. These rivalries will exist in the schedules from season to season, building on the relevant relationships between teams from the modern-day NHL. Each NHL team will receive at least one of these rivalries, with some of the more storied franchises having a wider collection based on their extensive history in the league. Additionally, there is the ability to create new rivalries between teams based on how games play out throughout the season. Games receive a grudge score based on a series of criteria to determine whether a new grudge is warranted. When a game between non-rival teams is played, aspects like the final score carry a heavy weight, as we wanted to ensure the core logic of the system translated between online and offline modes effectively, so don't expect a 10-0 blowout resulting in a new grudge. These grudges can also crumble over time, creating new dynamic and ever-changing states within game modes when Grudge Match is featured. Alright, so it is good to see that every team is going to have a Grudge Match. Again, I think this is something that I think a lot of us probably already expected. Every team should have at least one rival, at least to start. And it is very good to see that some of the more historic teams in the league will have more than one rivalry. Your Montreals, your Bostons, your Torontos, your New Yorks of the world. It's good to see that these teams are, not going to be locked in with just one team, that they will include multiple rivalries. And then also, I did want to touch on the ability to create new rivalries here with non-rival teams. This is the part I'm a little bit scared about, just because, they said obviously the score is going to be something that kind of determines the rivalry, but they give the example of, if you're blowing a team out 10-0, don't result in that to be a new grudge. Which really, if you're blowing out a team 10-0, won't that kind of make you mad and want to come back and beat that team? I don't want to just see a new Grudge Match start from a 3-2 win over two non-rival teams. So they didn't really go into it that much of how new Grudge Matches will start. Got just a very basic lay of the land there in this blog post, so we're going to kind of have to see how that actually does play out when we get our hands on franchise mode. But let's move on to EASHL and HUT rivals. While we have a distinct focus on bringing real-life known rivalries to NHL teams to life, we also wanted to expand the possibilities into our online connected modes, which EASHL clubs and HUT rivals. This means that players engaging in these competitive online modes will begin creating rivalries throughout the NHL 25 cycle. Relationships between teams that battle it out in close games will take shape, and when a Grudge Match surfaces against a known rival, you will have the chance to settle the score or pull ahead, altering the history and the future of the matchup. As clubs and players come back year after year, history comes with you. So a grudge 2 to 3 years from now will have more history, substance, and emotion. So very, very interesting to see that it looks like they're really going to be saving all this data, all the stats. If grudges are going to be lasting like 2 to 3 years, you can come back and see a record against one of your friends that you've been playing all this time. That's really cool, and I didn't expect that to really outlive anything outside of NHL 25. I just thought year after year they would continue to reset that. But let's continue on here with the Grudge Match Impact players. So each Grudge Match will feature an impact player from each team. these players will receive an Impact X Factor based on their performances from the previous matchup. So that's that kind of Superman X Factor with the cape. That's what they're referring to here, with their stats playing a role in how the Impact player is designated. Major events such as goals, assists, hits, takeaways, blocks can all influence who will be the Impact player. Goaltenders can also become the Impact player based on their relative performance. Impact X Factors range between offensive, defensive, goaltending to create a variety of gameplay effects. It will be key to use your Impact player effectively, and be aware of the Impact player on the other side, as they can influence the game outcome. So awesome to hear that they're going to be tracking all those small stats, whether it be like a huge block shot at the end of the game that saves a goal for your team. Something like that can be tracked now, and they can potentially become the game Impact player. I thought it was going to be just super generic. You have like a 4-point night. You're going to be the Impact player for that team. You receive the X Factor. But it's good they're going to be going a little bit deeper with it and really tracking some of those more smaller things that can lead to your team winning a game. So all that sounds very positive to me. And then moving on here to our last thing I want to say here today, which is the Grudge Match presentation. So basically this just goes to show how all these elements will be displayed on game. So now it's interesting to see that coaches will get more involved in the game. You can see the animations of them yelling from the sideline, whether it be a heartbreaking call, penalty, whatever it may be, or maybe your team scores a big goal. Coaches will react to that now. It sucks we can't have real coaches still. I'd love to just see, John Cooper on the sideline just going nuts and just arguing all the bad calls or, whatever it may be. But unfortunately, they don't have the rights to real coaches, so that will not be a part of this. Also now just more, kind of display on the boards. We already have so much that you can track all the shots and stuff like we previously have had, but now it'll just show like the 3-game point streak between 2 different rivals. So you see it looks like the Montreal Canadiens have a 3-game point streak against the Leafs in this example. So just going to give you more options and more display when you're already in the game, and that will show that on the boards. So honestly, nothing too crazy here from this article here today. Have a couple of new pieces of information on like the X Factor. We're looking to see how you actually end up getting that. It's good to see that you'll be able to create new grudge matches and you'll be able to lose them in franchise mode. Each team already has a few. All that stuff is good confirmations to get here. But I think overall that will do it for this quick NHL 25 news update. We are only 4 days out from the game, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it. But that will do it for today's video. I will see you all in the next one.